This is Panipat, a dense industrial expanse in northern India. Somewhere within this concrete maze is a community that shouldn't exist. Inside a building called Jehovah Shalom Church, you will find a group of about 25 widows who have formed an unusually vibrant community. In many contexts, losing a husband often marks the beginning of a life defined by neglect. But here, these women operate with a sense of security and visible joy. The woman leading them is Pastor Kiran Masih. She is a widow herself, and she serves as the group's senior pastor and primary protector. To understand how she built this environment, we have to look at the foundation. A few years ago, Kiran was the most isolated and hopeless person in the city. After her husband passed away, Kiran's world narrowed. Left alone with 2 children, she faced isolation and financial anxiety that felt impossible to escape. The constant stress eventually manifested in her body. Her physical health failed as the weight of her situation became too much to carry. A severe infection took hold in her eyes. It progressed so quickly she reached a point where she could barely see the world around her. Kiran felt she had reached her limit. With her vision fading and her support system gone, she believed her life was effectively over. She was living in literal and metaphorical darkness, separated from her community and her future. This trajectory changed when another woman approached her and shared the gospel of Jesus Christ. For the first time in years, Kiran was presented with a perspective that didn't focus on her status as a widow, but on the possibility of being cared for by a higher power. Shortly after this encounter, the infection in her eyes began to clear. Eventually, the healing was complete. When her vision was fully restored, Kiran saw it as proof that her life was no longer defined by her circumstances. She describes this recovery as being pulled directly out of the mud and mire of her previous life. This physical recovery gave her the concrete evidence she needed to believe that an internal change was also possible. Following the healing of her eyes, a slower transformation began. Kiran began to view her faith as a replacement for the protection she lost when her husband died. This wasn't an instant fix. Day by day, she worked through the years of loneliness. She describes it as a process where her deep-seated pain was understood and slowly eased. Her self-perception changed as she realized she was no longer a victim of her status. She began to feel a sense of internal strength that she hadn't known before. She adopted a new outlook, that God had become her primary provider and her constant protector, filling the void left by her old life. This inner reconstruction didn't just help her survive, it allowed her to step out of the identity of the abandoned widow entirely. Kiran eventually realized that her recovery had a specific purpose. Her survival was a form of preparation for the women who would soon come to her for help. Her past suffering became her most important asset. Because she had lived through total isolation, she knew exactly how to speak to other women who felt broken. When other widows hear Kiran's story, it provides them with the first evidence they've seen that their own lives can be restored. This branching network shows how that recovery spreads. What began with Kiran's personal story reached 25 other widows, and through them, the stability of their entire extended families was rebuilt. She turned her own history of agony into a sanctuary, where dozens of others now find the strength to start over. To the outside world, Kiran might still be categorized by the word widow, but she sees herself as a new creation, defined by the life she has built since her recovery. She lives with the daily assurance that she is no longer operating in isolation. Her life is no longer about just getting by. It is about using her presence to help others recover their own sense of worth. When the world leaves a person behind, faith can provide a path back. Kiran's story shows that hitting rock bottom can be the starting point for a new identity, turning personal brokenness into a shelter for everyone else.